Spider-Man is my favorite character in all of literature. Not just superheroes, I'm talking all literature. Spider-Man is one of the greatest characters ever made.
It was, I think, the first time I saw myself in a superhero. It's a new kind of hero that Spider-Man presented, and that's something we're really trying to capture.
He wasn't like some billionaire playboy. He wasn't an alien from another planet. He was that guy down the block.
Every great Spider-Man story is also a Peter Parker story. One of the most beloved characters around the world. He is us.
When you grow up, everybody feels like they're picked on. Everybody feels like no one understands them. That was Spider-Man.
With Fisk behind bars, what's next?
Maybe Peter Parker can have more of a life.
He wants to go on that date, but oh no, there's Electro. Oh no, there's Rhino. Oh no, there's a bank robbery.
And then when you understand all that, the stakes raise when he's Spider-Man and fighting these foes, because you know what's at stake, you know what he's fighting for.
In the Insomniac game, we got this new Spidey, a new look. We're also in this world getting all new version of Martin Lee, who is secretly Mr. Negative.
I really like Mr. Negative as a villain, especially from a story point of view. He's a very real person.
Martin Lee is a benevolent entrepreneur and has homeless shelters. They're called the Feast shelters, and Peter's Aunt May works at Feast.
He's taking care of Aunt May when Peter can't, when Peter has to either be at work or be out in the city being Spider-Man.
But there's something inside of him that's trying to consume him.
Take care of this place. It represents the best part of me.
We're really kind of poking at that idea of how some people have a dark side. The question is whether you give into that dark side or don't.
That duality means if you're taking down Mr. Negative, you're also taking down Martin Lee. When you're Spider-Man and you learn that secret, what a conundrum.
Then the question is, it's like a ticking clock. How long until Martin Lee knows that I know who he is?
This is crazy! This isn't you! You don't know me!
From a visual point of view, what's really cool about him is that he's actually got this really cool negative effect where he becomes negative.
And then that is connected to his powers. He's able to bring out someone's dark side. And then he can also, in our game, he can do these blasts of his negative energy.
You're gonna see, swords or guns or even whips imbued with this negative power. And when it comes to Mr. Negative himself, those powers just amplified even more.
Everything you care about will be destroyed. The people will beg you for help, but you won't be able to save them.
One of the first days when we were making the game, we were all sitting around talking about how we grew up with Spider-Man, and we all realized that when we were 9 years old, we all had Spider-Man underoos. Like Spider-Man was our guy, and we never lost that love for him. Now it's fans making the game for other Spider-Man fans, and we believe in that power and responsibility. Our game is really going to put you in the shoes of Peter. We want to deliver on the fantasy of Spider-Man, and to do that, we have to take advantage of all his rich backstory, his supporting cast, his friends, his foes.
We're going to see characters we know and love in different ways. So this is like a whole new world for Spider-Man, and it's really cool.
And that, my friends, is what karmic justice looks like.
Yuri, I'm at a Fisk construction site, and there's a lot of guys here who aren't exactly constructing. Place is locked down, Captain. Actually, webbed down. Fellas, come on. No turn signals? Gonna have to write you up. Hey, Yuri, all done. What's happening? Yuri? Yuri! Hey, I think I'm close to one of Harry's research stations.
Welcome to Just the Facts, with J. Jonah Jameson, alerting you to the threats you don't even know about. Let's dive right into the calls. Speak.
Hey, Willie.
You.
Nice jumpsuit. Slimming.
Stay out of my business.
Wait, the demons. Who's their leader?
Keep my men alive and maybe I'll tell you.
Spider-Man was a character who came in at the right time and flipped the tables. You know, the heroes that came before were all invented in the Great Depression. And they were all fantasy, escapism. They had no problems, because people didn't want to read about problems. People had problems in their own life, and they were serious problems. And they wanted, from their comic books, they wanted escapism. And they wanted perfect heroes. And that was just what was demanded at the time. So you had these, you know, perfect square-jawed millionaires and gods and goddesses and aliens from outer space. And in the stories, you didn't spend a lot of time with them out of costume. And that's just the way it was, and they were great. Those are all great characters. 20 years later, you have Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, John Romita Sr. come in, and they wanted to do the opposite. Part of it is marketing. Hey, let's zig where they're zagging. Part of it was it's a different generation. And at the time, Marvel didn't know if it was going to be in business. And so they're like, we may only have one shot. Let's just tell the superhero stories that we want to tell. In fact, it was Stan Lee's wife who said to him, Stan, just tell the story you want to tell in this one issue of Amazing Fantasy 15. And so they did. And it changed all the rules. And at first it was very controversial. And Stan and Steve got yelled at when they got to work. And their boss said, what the hell are you doing? You have this character wearing a full mask. Like burglars. Burglars cover their face. Superheroes don't cover their face. They either wear a little domino mask or they have no mask. It's covering his face. He's got a bug on his chest. Everyone hates bugs. Worst of all, he's this skinny teenager. If a kid is in the comic, they're either a sidekick or they're getting saved. They're not the star. Like, what the hell are you doing? And then they got the sales numbers. And the boss said, keep doing it. Because it's, as I said, a different generation. And it was teens who now had disposable income. You know, it's the kids of the greatest generation. The economy is doing great. They have money. They want to read about themselves. That was one of the many ways that Spider-Man was just different from any hero that came before. And he wasn't the popular teenager. He wasn't the jock. Previously, that would have been the hero. Spider-Man is the outcast. He's the nerd. He's in the corner. He's the angry young man that if you read the first, especially 20 issues of Spider-Man, because you see him on his journey, and he's still upset, and he's wounded, and he's angry at the world. He's had a life of being dumped on. The wound is very fresh of being responsible for the death of Uncle Ben, and he finally has his powers, and he's grappling with that, and he's constantly going on that journey of, can I use my powers to make money for my poor aunt? Can I use my powers to be famous? He grapples with that for a while, even past his origin, he grapples with that. He gets beat up all the time. Every new villain that shows up kicks his ass. Sandman, Vulture, Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, they all wreck Spider-Man. Most of the early Spider-Man stories are that same story. The villain shows up, wrecks him. Sometimes Spider-Man, he's crying, he's wounded, he throws his costume in the trash, he's like, never again. And then he has to like gather himself and then say, how can I beat them? They're older than me, they're smarter than me. What do I have that they don't have? Goes back to who he is. He's a kid who loves science. So he thinks about, how can I beat them? How can I create something that can cancel out their powers? I love the first 20 issues of Amazing Spider-Man because they invented what Spider-Man was. And from that moment, every other superhero story has been either trying to replicate that or do the opposite of that. But he is a lightning rod. When Spider-Man arrived, it changed everything. And every superhero story after that is in response to Spider-Man.
Come on. No, 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 no! Let's go! Did that just happen? Yeah.
I'm getting reports of a helicopter with a wrecking ball?
It's complicated. Turns out Martin Lee is running the demons.
The guy who runs the homeless shelter?
Like I said, complicated. Sit tight, Yuri. I got this. Please, let me got this.
That helicopter is destroying the city.
I know.
You need to bring it down.
I know.
Maybe you could superhero a little faster?
Working on it, Yuri. Too close. Okay, Lee, here I come! Hi, is this the flight to Newark? Why are you doing this? Because no one else will! Lee, this is crazy! This isn't you! You don't know me! Need a plan. Need a plan real fast. I guess this is the plan! Come on, Pete, you got this! You got this, you got this, you got this! Please don't screw this up. Mr. Lee? It's over. Come on, dude, let's go. Miles!